Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? This is Kevin Anglad, and you are now tuning in to the Wise Guys Podcast, brought to you by Flowered Concrete. Check it out.
Yo, 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 what's going on? What's going on? We're back, and we're back, and we're back with another episode of the Wise Guys Podcast. This is your boy, Kevin Anglad.
And this is Mark Pruden.
And again, we're back. I usually say that afterwards, but it's alright, you know. There's a lot going on right now. Mark, first and foremost, before we bring our guest on, how was your weekend, man? Or how has your week been, and how is your weekend starting? Because this is a very different type of shooting for the podcast today. We're shooting a day early, but what's up?
Yeah, definitely, man. Everything's been great. Nice, smooth weekend. Got to, get some time off to relax, but yeah, other than that, can't complain, man. How about you?
Oh man, do you really want to know, man? Because we're always saying how we're doing, or things are alright, but I actually needed to vent for like a quick 30 seconds to a minute, man.
Yeah, man, let it out.
All right, Mark. A beautiful weekend, beautiful week spent, my family, going back home for the holidays, seeing, my mom and my sister or whatnot. Took Danielle with me to the trip down to New York. It was good. It was great. Again, holiday time with family is always good. But something happened. My mom decided to clean my old room. Well, for the listeners out there, if you don't know, I live in Hartford, Connecticut. Surprise, Mark and I haven't been shooting pretty much all of the episodes together in the same room. We're that we're that electric and that crazy in terms of like what we have going on in our lives, teaching, investing, business, whatever, that we've been doing a lot of this podcast over the phone. So you're actually getting a look into our weekly phone conversations. But we were happy that you guys are listeners and in there. But yeah, I don't want to waste too much time into saying this, man. But so I went into my room. My mom was like, "Hey, I reorganized the room for you. I know you're coming to spend the weekend with us, bro. Tell me why I went into my closet. That's where I usually keep all of my notebooks, man. Like all of my creative writing stories, everything, bro. She threw everything out, man.
Wow, man.
Bro, think about it. 2012, 2013, my first 3 detective fiction books, Life Comes from Concrete.
Exactly.
And not even just that story. Like I had a short story collection that I wanted to put out in 2025, man. I thought it was going to be a masterwork of just magnanimous proportions, man. All of my Flowered Concrete written material, man, gone. She threw them out.
It's crazy, man. A lot of history, but I mean, at the end of the day, what you put out was meant to be out, So if that was in the archives, I guess it wasn't meant for the world to see.
No, Mark. No. I had a classic waiting. I had a classic. No, you're absolutely right, man. But I had a classic. I feel as if I had one story that was going to be so good, man. And I feel as if I had that taken away from me. But going back to your point, though, I think you're right. If it was meant to be, it would have happened. Maybe it wasn't that good, or maybe, but I was like, here's the skeletons and bones to a project that I was going to refine, and I was going to layer and edit and make better. That was the only thing I really cared about. The old stories, cool, whatever. Yeah. But imagine just your 20s being wiped out in the flash, man. What made you become who you are, She didn't mean anything by it, man, but it really hurt my heart. And yeah, I won't be talking to her for a few weeks. Sorry about that, listeners. I'm a bit petty, but I won't. I love my mom. She knows I love her, but it's kind of hard on me right now. And bro, when something happens to you, it kind of just like messes up your mood. Like that right there, it threw off my vibe the entire weekend, man. It just threw it.
I could understand.
You know what I'm saying? Like even at the dinner table having conversations, I wasn't myself. I wasn't talking as much. I don't know. It's like, imagine if someone threw out your investment portfolio. Imagine how you'd feel. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that's very true, man.
But you know what?
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. But you know what? I don't want to linger on this. And we're a podcast about positivity. I just needed to get that out to make myself feel better in the moment. So I'm gonna just leave that right there. If anything, I'll talk to you about it off air in a more private conversation. But yeah, man. We have a very special guest that we'd like to bring on the show today, Mark.
Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Ladies and gents of the WISE community, this episode is titled The Businessman. Once again, this episode is titled The Businessman, and Mark being a business savvy guy, myself kind of being a business savvy guy, but working on it, we thought it would only be ideal if we brought in another business savvy guy. And this young fine gentleman we have here on the show today, Mark, I met this guy at my boy Jimmy, who was our guest on last week's episode. And you weren't there last week, Mark. We missed you, but I'm sure the listeners got a lot out of it. I met this upcoming guest at Jimmy's wedding, and man, like this guy truly blew me away in regards to his perspective on life, his perspective on mentorship, business, technology, and I thought it'd only be right to bring him onto the show. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our wise guy and our guest for this week, Gene Yao. Gene Yao, my brother, welcome onto the show.
What's up, guys?
My brother, welcome.
What's up, guys? Thank you. I'm happy to be here. How y'all feeling?
Absolutely. Oh, I'm feeling great. Mark, how you feeling, man?
Feeling good, man. Can't complain. Everything's great.
Excellent.
That's dope.
Gene, we got some topics to talk to you in regards to business in the African American community, man. You pumped? You ready to do it?
Of course, bro. That's what we do all day.
Oh man, this sounds like he's gonna be a great wise guy, Mark. I love it. Cool. So before we start, Gene, we always ask our guests to provide a 30-second elevator pitch synopsis about who you are and what you do. Could you please provide the wise guys and the wise community out there with a 30-second synopsis in regards to who you are, what you do?
Yeah. So June here. I'm based out of New York. I've been here for 12 years. I currently work in the real estate business. I'm a CRM and operation manager. Mm-hmm. So I'm more on the technology side of, the real estate business now in New York. And then before that, I was doing what Kevin is doing now, working with students. I was a teacher and helping run a nonprofit in the Bronx for at-risk youth, ages 17 to 24. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I've done in the last 12 years.
Excellent. Well, Gene, once again, we're happy to have you on the show, and we're sure this is going to be a great show. I don't want to waste any more time, gentlemen. Let's get right into it. We have 3 segments for today. Our first segment, in regards to the show, The Businessman, is about why black folks don't start businesses. Again, why black folks don't start businesses. Before we talk about this, I would love to read a few stats and a bit of information to you guys to kind of get you guys oriented. Does that sound cool?
Let's go.
All right, so this is from OxfordInsights.com, okay? Again, this is from OxfordInsights.com. Okay, so according to the audit at OxfordInsights.com, all right, in 2016, black workers were the least likely to be self-employed at 11%. This compares to 16% of white workers. The author of this article, who happens to be Isaac Niti Aser, sounds African, I'm not sure which country, but Isaac Niti Aser says, let's see, says
one of my cousins.
Right, you're funny. So Isaac says his hypothesis is that as a black business owner himself, a large number of black businesses are in low barrier sectors such as care work or cleaning. I strongly suspect that the number of black run tech startups, for example, would show a bleak picture for those overall ethnicity statistics. Why is that? And I'm going to continue and say this real quick before I open up to you gentlemen. Studies suggest that the main reasons black people do not start businesses is because of a lack of access to finance, being without resources to provide community and advice, no mentoring models, and fear. Furthermore, racism has paralyzing effects on groups of people. It is human nature to avoid rejection. And there's more information, but I'm going to stop right here for a second. Gene, we want to get you in. We want to get you feeling very comfortable. Could you answer that first and foremost for our first question? Why do black folks, why don't we start businesses, or what's preventing them from starting businesses right now? And if you could refer to the research, if anything jumped out to you, we'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of layers to like exploring this situation. I think from a cultural standpoint, like even like if you look at I'm from I grew up in Africa and moved here when I was 17.
Which country?
So I grew up in Ivory Coast.
Okay.
So just looking at like the climate here in the state, it's not something that is it's second nature for black folks here just to just wake up and open a business, because the amount of like paperwork and the amount of trials and tribulations you have to go through just to open a business, it's really it's one of those things where it's intimidating, and then most likely there's nobody around you that has a business outside of it, maybe a daycare or maybe like a small store or something like that, where you can go and get your resources. On top of that, we don't have like as far as individuals, for you to run a business, you can't have your life in shambles, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean, if I'm late on my credit card payments, if I have a bunch of student loans that I'm trying to pay off, and I don't have no parents or I don't have no family members to hold me down, I still have to worry about rent. I still have to worry about, paying for a car note or things like that, or mistakes that I've made in the past with credit cards. It's really hard for me to, if I don't have access to funds, to just say, oh, I'm going to go and open a business. I might have the idea, right? I've had ideas myself, plenty of ideas that I know are lucrative if I was to invest in it. The only issue is, I still have to eat. There's a lot of things that I have to do. And then it comes down to, am I going to be able to run my business without having to worry about some of my personal finances? So I think that financially, as a community, we're not secure yet where we can take on those risks, because for us, first of all, it's super hard to get those loans. That's one. And then second of all, we want to make sure we run a business that's booming, right? You want a business that's gonna be lucrative, that's gonna generate a ton of money, and you can't. It's hard to gamble, right? In that sense, it's hard to gamble and make an investment, because it's not gonna be that simple, right? The first 5 years, you may not even make a penny. You may just be breaking even. But does your fiance or does your family have 5 years? If you have kids, can they wait 5 years, right? Whereas, people from other communities, what they've done is they work as, they work together, like the Asian community. Right. They will go and they will front each other money to open up a business without having the banks involved, right? We don't have those infrastructure to do that. We still have to go to financial institution and ask for a loan, and they're looking at us like your personal finances ain't even straight. So why should I even give you money because you have a great idea? Right? So that's the way I see it.
Excellent. Great thoughts. Mark, you have the mic, brother. Sound off. What you got?
Yeah, definitely, man. I can totally agree with what you said. In my opinion, the black community, the black family is naturally very risk averse. So, they don't have many assets or many resources, so they're not willing to risk a percentage of what they have and put it in the business, because, to the black community, the black family, having a business is taboo, or it's not very common. So, first of all, it's very foreign. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the, mentors around them with experience to help them. So it's kind of like, that person is all on their own. So if you have limited capital, it's almost a no-brainer that you don't enter business, because that would be suicide. So it's like, with a risk-averse person, they're always going to seek security and they're going to seek stability. So of course they're going to stick with, a job with good benefits and, 401k and stuff like that. These common things that most employees have. So it's just they take a very safe approach, because like Gene said, when their current financial situation is in shambles, they're not willing to risk anything because they don't have anything. The only thing they're willing to do is work another day. That's the only thing they can do is work another day. So there is really no space for that black man or woman to open a business if they have no capital, if they have no credit. You've got people that they grew up in a family where their mother or father put the cable bill in their name at 18 and screwed up their credit. Now that person is just looking like an extreme risk to the bank. You know, that we don't get these lessons on, you know, credit and you know, money management at a young age. So we basically experiment until we screw ourselves.
Well, if you don't,
so that's
sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry, keep talking.
No, that's pretty much what I was getting at. Just it's more experimentation with the black man and woman when it comes to finance, because we don't have the mentors in place to establish these, you know, these ideas and thoughts of what we can do with our money and what we can do with our resources. You know, most people that open businesses, they have real estate in their family, they have assets in their family. So if they need a loan, you know, to open their business, they don't have to go to the bank, you know, to get a personal loan. They can get a home equity loan on their home. They can pull money out of the house and put that into the business. But if you have a family living in the projects, what asset do they have aside from the hours that they work every day?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, Mark. I actually wanted to not contribute because I don't. You know, this is obviously one of my weaker points. Not saying I'm not well versed in as well as you guys. Well, that's true. That's very true. But you know, I'm always trying to look at it from an educator's point of view, being a teacher and my background as an educator. So, Mark, we had this conversation before, and we also had this conversation a couple of weeks ago in the comment section, on the Wise Guys comment section on Instagram with a teacher. And the conversation with the teacher went back and forth about math and how math should play a part in terms of students becoming financially literate, and how that could, you know, how the math in itself is the preface, like the preface or like the beginning stages that's needed in order for the kids, in order to excel in business and whatnot. And I think you kind of refuted that point and said, like, what is math, algebra, trig? What is that really going to do for business at the end of the day? Like, is all these equations and these formulas going to help? But my question to you both, I'll start off with you, Mark, first, then Gene, you can follow up, Mark, afterwards. My question to you two is, can the K through 12 education system in America, can that play a part on educating our children about finance, about literacy, about money in general? Can the K to 12 sector in general play as an advocate or a proponent in terms of, especially the children in the Section 8 sector? Can the K to 12 system play a part in bringing about this awareness and bringing this towards their education? What do you think?
Well, yeah, definitely. I believe it can, for sure. But it has to be a real, you know, lifelong learning program, like you said, from kindergarten to 12th grade. Like, it has to be implemented all the way up, not just one class senior year, one class junior year. It would have to be a real lifelong, you know, curriculum being in place. And even then, it's still not 100% guaranteed to work, because you have kids that grow up in any education system and become criminals. They don't become employees, or they don't become business people. So there's always going to be people that, you know, fall out of the loop. But, you know, I think you brought it up on Instagram as well, that people, you know, the education system does not have the minds of the students. Social media has the minds of the students. So you can teach whatever you like. It may be difficult to actually get through to certain people, because of the way social media kind of controls the way we think. You know, you can go on social media with one way of thinking. You see one post and it totally changes your mind. You know what I mean? It totally influences you to either be, you know, whether it's to buy a product or to think a certain way. It really does have a powerful grip on people, and I think that's where the education system is losing its grasp. It's losing its grasp to social media. Because that's what truly has the minds of the youth. Now, if finance, I mean, we do have finance pages on Instagram and social media, and people like it, and they may share it, but are they living it? Most likely not.
Gene, same question to you. Sorry. Oh, I apologize. Sorry.
I think for me, it's like, I think we place a lot of, and I that's just, you know, how I see things. I think we place a lot of expectation on what the government should do, but we don't even trust them, right? So for me, it's like, kids don't even know how to read. Like, Kevin, you're in the classroom every day. You see how things go. You have people in college that come from public, like, you know, they didn't go to private school. They went to public school in a bad school district. They can barely, you know, survive in college.
It's true.
So for me, like, the most important thing when we talk about, like, financial literacy and education, I think we should be, instead of the kids, we should be talking to the parents. I think those are the people that, right, because kids, at the end of the day, like all of us, whether we want it or not, we are always trying to emulate our parents. Most of the lessons that we learn are, you know, before we go on our own and start our journey, we learn that from our parents. So the same way we were saying, Mark was saying that you have people who come from, like, for lack of a better word, like just white people in this country, for example. Like, you see your uncle has a business, your mom has a business, your uncle, you have parents that put their kids as second credit card holder from the ages of 16 or 18, so that by the time they come out of college, their credit is good. You know, so all of those things should be like, we should be targeting the parents. Now, how do we do that? I don't necessarily think that school, as we know it, it's gonna be the vehicle, because I don't think it works, right? Because if school was working, none of this should be happening anyway, right? Like, people should be graduating, things should be, you know, like, even for people that went to business school. I went to business school, but I didn't really learn about, you learn about corporations and big business, but there's so many steps before you get there, right? So, like, the idea of, like, learning how, like, mothers, for example, how do you get together and start a small project in the neighborhood? Those are the things for me that needs to happen, and not necessarily the classroom, because the kids don't have money. You can learn about money all you want, but if you don't have money in your hands, you don't know anything about money.
Right.
Right. So the kids don't know. Right. So I went to school. I learned all these, you know, ways of finessing the system. That's what I went to school for. Right. Like, understanding X, Y, and Z. So when it came to do it, when I had money, like, a few years later, all of that went out of the window. Right. So it's all about, like, for me, it's like getting to the household. Because once you plant that seed in the household, then you get not only reinforcement from the parents, but also if you get the kids get reinforcement in school in addition, that's, you know, that's dope. But if the parents themselves are equipped to deal with their finances better, then, you know, I think that we're going to see a much you know, a better result compared to just, you know, teaching a class for one semester.
Yeah, that's very true.
Now, I don't want to make this a race debate or a race topic at all, but we've talked about education a lot on this podcast, and you know, the mass incarceration, the prison system in general, and all of these different things that have a stranglehold on marginalized people, whether black or Latino, and you know, people within that sector. Do you both think that this it's intentional that, you know, that black folks or marginalized folks are not given? For example, if I have bad credit, right? If my credit is in the 300s, 400s, but I have this great business proposition, this great business idea, and let's say I'm working for a Fortune 500 CEO company, and I want to go out to Chase Bank and get a business loan, but they look at my credit, obviously, you know, right? Things are cut black and white. They're not going to give me that loan. But, you know, it's often been assumed, or not assumed, but it's well noted that, you know, you know, no offense to white people, but white people, you know, they start off with the high, Mark, if I'm wrong, Gene, if I'm wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong. They start off with great credit, but like some black people who are born into poverty, they start off with 300, 400, 500 credit scores. So they're obviously going to be denied that business loan in order to start their business. I could be wrong, but do you think that race, and as well as gerrymandering and redlining, plays a part in the advancement of people that may like to make contributions in terms of business?
I mean, in my opinion, sorry about that. I just think that when it comes to what you said, that's what limits our people as well. We only think in a straight line. We don't think outside the box. So you had a business opportunity, and your first thought was, let me go to a bank and see if I can get a loan. That's the hardest business loan you can obtain. The smartest thing to do would be, let me network with people of a high net worth and try to pitch my idea for my business. Because if your business idea is legitimate, someone will invest in it. You can go to meetup groups. You can go to networking events. You meet someone with a large net worth. You explain your idea. If your idea is worth anything, someone will throw some money at you. But the first thing we think is, let me go to the bank. You know what I mean? We have to think outside the box, and that's what limits our people as well. We think there's only one way to the top. But there's over 150,000 ways to the top. You just have to wiggle through each way. You know, we think, oh, wait, there's only one door to get there. If the door is locked, I got to turn around. we don't think outside the box on there's many ways to get through this door. So that's it's a way of thinking that we have to change. And well, I mean, like you said, of course, going towards the race part, there are many limitations when it comes to entering business as well. And they keep feeding us this idea that in communities, when the government prints money, how is resources in a country where the government prints money? There is no limited resources in America. There is intentional small budgets. There's small budgets that are intentionally made. Why? Because we do still have to keep the school to prison pipeline going. I mean, certain areas are intentionally, given low quality education so that we can still have that percentage of the population going to prison. Being a lower wage employee, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's still a pyramid in place. There's people at the top, people at the middle, people at the bottom, and they're going to make sure that we maintain balance. Everybody can't be a millionaire, right? Because if everybody is, who's in prison? You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, that's not funny, but I laugh. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just laugh at the honesty. Right.
If you owned a prison, Kev, wouldn't you want people in the prison?
That's true. Yeah.
So there's people that own prisons, and that's what they want. And some of them are called lawmakers, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you said is really true. I think sometimes you don't, and that's one thing that it's Thanksgiving. You're talking about being grateful and being thankful. I think that we don't really look at the history of like the marginalized group in the U.S. from we don't look from the beginning. We just look at where we are now, and then we compare ourselves to everybody else, right? So you realize, just women didn't start working until World War II, right? Just think about that for a second. Black people were not allowed to vote until what? How many years from now? How many years ago? We literally just started voting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, we playing catch up, right? So we are in a place where we are doing well when you're looking at how long we've been in the workforce and what are we able to accomplish. Now, as a whole, of course, we're not where we want to be when we compare ourselves to people that had 400-year plus of head start compared to us. Right? So I think for me, it's I try not to look at, this group is doing this, so we're doing that, right? So there's definitely, for me, more than now. Back then, there was a lot of things that were in place for us to fail, right? And it's gotten to the point where even if the government, even if the institution don't intentionally try to do things, they've done so much that now is engraved in our minds, in our lifestyle and our mentalities, right? And the way to get out of it, when we were talking about the person that had an idea and wanted to start a business, I think a lot of times we want to skip, for us, like I said, we want to skip steps, right? Oh, I have an idea, let me go to the bank and let me get a loan. If you can manage your finances, you are not going to be able to do well with a business. And that's just, that's not even a race thing. That's just business. Right? If you cannot manage your little $50,000 a year, you cannot. Everybody in this country, and that's one thing that I don't like. When I got here in the U.S., everybody wants to own a business. That's not smart. That is not smart. Some of us cannot have a business, not because we don't have good credit, not because it takes a certain type of, entrepreneurship. It takes a certain level, a certain type of risk. You have to be a risk taker to be able to go in business, even if you have the money, because there's a lot of people that have money and they invest and it still doesn't work, right? So I think for us, when we look at racism and we look at those things, I think what we need to start doing is realizing our own power and then empower ourselves to, for example, all right, well, we don't have loans, right? We don't get loans, but where do we go to get our loans? We go to white institutions. We go to JP Morgan. We go to Bank of America. There are black banks. Why aren't we using black banks? That's a question, and that's a question I'm asking, but I'm asking myself that because It's not like they don't exist, but I might make an effort to go to a black bank where my dollar can actually get me more than it will if I went to, let's say, another institution, right? So all of those things is where our fight needs to be. You know, we're gonna own business. That's gonna happen. That's not. I don't even think that's gonna be an issue. It's just we have to value what we do and what we create, and then once we do that, then we be in charge of the things that we create. But if we don't value what we create, we're gonna create it and sell it, and then once we sell it, it's not ours anymore.
It's
right? So for me,
go ahead, Gene.
That's where it starts for me.
Gene, I'm so happy you brought that up. I'm so happy you brought up the terms value and creation. I'll say it again. Value and creation. For the wise community out there, please pay attention to what I'm about to ask these two young men, because I think the words value and creation are very, very important. Mark and I had a conversation off air where we talked about value and creation in business and owning our own properties. When I say properties, I don't just mean like physical properties like real estate. I mean intellectual properties, right? I have my publishing company, Flowered Concrete. Shout out to Flowered Concrete, ladies and gents. Since my mom threw out all of my works for Flowered Concrete, please show me some love. FloweredConcrete.net, please. All right. Other than that, though, we talk about value and creation. Mark says that whatever you have out there in terms of value, right? For example, I have Flowered Concrete. Mark says, well, don't you think? Because I said, I want to pass Flowered Concrete down to my family. It's a publishing company, but I might reinvent it to be more than a publishing company with a publishing aspect of the company as a small sector in it, which publishes authors and does other great things to educate, the youth and bring literacy and other forms of value to people's lives. But I said when I die, I would want my children to take the company, continue to build it, and have it as something that they could pass down, right? Because we never pass anything down as black people to our family, to our descendants that come after us. There's nothing to pass down. But Mark says, eventually there's going to be a form of value that is lost in your company. And so you want to make sure when it's hot that you can sell it, right? We had this discussion that, one of the biggest mistakes that, Blockbuster ever made was that when Netflix came at the door and they were knocking saying, hey, buy us, buy us, it'll be great for you. And then Blockbuster was like, no. And then as a result, Blockbuster went bankrupt and they folded. But value and creation is very important. So I'm going to pose this to both of you gentlemen, but Mark, I want to hear Gene's take on it first, and then I want you to follow after. Why do you feel as if, so we're technically segueing to and transitioning to our second segment. As black men, black women, as black people, the black community, why don't we show support to other people's businesses in regards to their value and creation? We'd rather go out there and buy Prada and Gucci than support our own and to see the value within their creation. Why do we do that? Why does the black community support their own less as opposed to other businesses in other races?
I think it's
go ahead, brother.
I think it's a condition. We've been conditioned not to see ourselves as being good enough, right? From, like you were talking about, like styles and what we create. Like if you think about like luxury, think about all of the good things that people want to buy. It has to be made by somebody from this specific. Even soul food, we don't even have we have restaurants in New York, soul food restaurants that are popping, but that are not owned by black people. Right? But we will show up. We will show up and line up and go eat there. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of other restaurants, right, that are there. I think that's a conditioning thing. It's gonna wear off at some point, and it's already happening. But it stems from all the years of like we had to reject ourselves because we were thought that whatever we represented wasn't good enough. That's really what it comes from. We weren't good enough. Like even yesterday, I had a conversation with my fiance and my sister about like, hey, like women, like the fact that they like some women can't wear braids to their job because you can't do that here, right? So at some point, it's like, wait a minute, like what can I do? So we are constantly forced to take the identity of our oppressors in a way, right? And I'm not saying necessarily white people, but I'm saying like in any society, like you have to conform. A lot of times we have to conform. We didn't get a chance to really figure things on our own and like what we like and do what we want to do, right? if you think about it, the United States, we have only one city that's known as the Black City, right? And that's Atlanta. And Atlanta is booming now, right? So Atlanta is literally what we should strive to become. Like literally, like that's what it's about. Like you have Black-owned business, you have everything is Black, right? That's what we will get to. But until then, there's a lot of like we don't love ourselves because we've been taught that that's not good enough. Even the way we talk, right? Even the way we talk at work, we can't talk like I can't go to work and talk the way I'm talking now. Not that I can't, but I will be conscious, right? In the back of my mind, I'd be like, wait a minute, I have to sound, hey, how are you? How you doing today, sir? Like, it's true. And those things are not. We unfortunately, it's part of our makeup now, unfortunately, and now we have to deal with it, and it's hard to shake it off. You really, really have to do a self-assessment and see that, wait, am I saying no to my culture just to sound or be accepted by somebody else? And I think there's a lot of that going on.
We talked about that 2 episodes ago, right, Mark, in regards to women in the workplace and it's interesting.
I mean, it's a matter of survival. Everyone's doing what they have to do to survive in the world of, the oppressor, like you said. You have to emulate to fit in a sense. If you want to keep your job and keep keep where you're at. It's just a matter of, everyone seeing what they need to do to succeed and doing it. I don't blame anyone, for emulating and trying to fit in order to be successful, because that's what needs to be done. I mean, everything like the market has shown you, if you be yourself in the workplace, bring your culture or whatever you'd like to bring, it can sometimes have negative effects. So, we've learned to just emulate the people around us. Right. When it comes to the workplace.
Right.
That's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to value and creation a bit though, and I want to go back to that in regards to conforming and emulation. So we talk about emulating our oppressors or emulating the conditions of the workplace or the workspace in order to integrate ourselves and immerse ourselves within an environment where we do not feel as if we are being of harm to them or we're threatening them with our presence as Black people or as minorities in general, right? So we talk about emulation and conforming. We always want to conform, but we never want to hone and shape ourselves and be our own. Now, there might be some people who will disagree with that, and especially like those people might be in Atlanta, and they might say, no, well, that's not true. Like, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're thriving or we're successful. But I bring back emulating or conforming. You want to buy the latest, gear in Dolce & Gabbana and Prada and Gucci and Ralph Lauren Polo and all this other stuff. But what about our own? What about our own, clothing lines? What about our own hair essential care products for women and for men and things like that? How come we don't put any more value or support into that? Gene, do you believe when we start our own businesses that we should pass them down to our family members as something tangible to hold on to? Or do you think if it makes right for business purposes that we sell them, right? Like, okay, Beats, I could see that there's going to be a downturn in the economy or the market in regards to the shares of this product. I'm going to sell this because, I know I'm going to take this and I'm going to increase my profits and increase my net worth or whatnot, So, yeah, I don't care about that. I got other businesses going on. What do you think?
Yeah. I think the part of like the support. So there's 2 things, right? The support part, I think it's part of like we just spoke about it. Is just understanding that we don't see ourselves as divine being, right? We don't value ourselves, and that's something that's gonna take time. But I think we're already on the road there, so I'm not worried about that. The other part where I'm worried about is when you're talking about like, okay, I have kids, I leave this earth, and then I want my kids to take on the business. Nowadays, that's really least likely to happen because kids are so exposed to so many things that the chances of them doing what their parents did are really slim to none, right? So for me, like if I was to leave a business to my child, like the most important thing is like it's not about you continuing my legacy or continuing my business. Is if you're gonna sell it, right? And in New York, like I work in real estate, and I had this conversation with the CEO of the company, and he was like, "There's a lot of people that own property in Harlem, The problem is when they sold, they didn't sell it to people that look like them. They sold it to other people, right? Because at that moment, making the money was more important than, you know, than just who I was selling it to. But for those who buy condos, like let's say you go buy a condo or you buy a co-op, what do? You have to go through what? A board to get approved. If they don't approve you, it doesn't matter how much money you have in your pocket. You have to provide documents to prove that, like, just even character. They have to judge your character. They have to sit down and then decide if you are worth living in that place. So for us, once we have those businesses, and eventually people are going to support, it's only a matter of time. I'm not, like I said, I'm not worried about that. It's only a matter of time. You see now there's a strong, the black identity is like getting to that level, like where people are proud to say I'm black, right? The second thing is when we have property, it's really important for us to, or we have anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily property, but anything that we have, it's important that we deal with people that look like us. If we deal with a bank, it should be the people that look like us that do that, because then the legacy keeps going, right? If you sell it to just anybody else, then it becomes you lost your creativity, you lost everything. Like Beats by Dre was like so cool, right? Everybody wanted them. It was a Dre became a billionaire because of it. But now who owns it?
Apple.
Apple owns it, right?
Yeah.
So it's great. You know, we always gonna talk about Dre, but 100 years from now, Beats will be doing great, and nobody will care about who. Nobody cares about Dre no more, right? Why? Because again, we went and did it the way that we did it. If you think about Tidal came out, every single person started complaining. Oh, why Jay-Z is doing this? Why Jay-Z is doing that? Meanwhile, you spending a bunch of money on other company from somebody you don't even know. And I'm not saying you know Jay-Z, but if I had to trust between putting my money in some random white man and putting my money in Jay-Z, listen, you can call me racist all you want. I'd rather put that in Jay-Z's hands.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because I know it's going to have some type of like ripple effect on our communities and our culture, right? But people don't think like that because we in a game that we don't control, right? So what it becomes is, how can I make it quick? How can I make it by myself, and how can I make it quick? And because of that, we don't advance. We have people that are doing good. We have people that become billionaires, but we don't have enough people that can actually afford their rent for month to month. Like that's the part that we're saying, oh, there's so many black millionaires now because they're in the NBA, or because there's a lot of artists, or there's businessmen. But when you look at the percentages, you're like, wait a minute, what about the regular families? Can they afford a little bit just to get by? You see what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that as we are getting, closer to, understanding what it means to be black, because we haven't defined that yet. Like, we don't know what that is, right? And I'm not sure if you ever know, but we get close to something where we could all say, this is what we do and this is what we don't do, right? Once we have that, then it's going to be, how do we make sure that we don't succumb to the pressure from, like big corporation or other people that want to come and buy our neighborhoods or buy our stores and things like that.
Mark, sound off.
Yeah, man, I can totally agree with that. My thing about it is, at this point, with let's say the African American economy, right? Let's just say our entire community, we don't have much assets, right? We don't have the financial literacy to manage our money, manage our salaries. So I feel like when we make decisions like only investing in someone because they're black, or only selling our homes to someone black, that's when we begin to tie our emotions into our investments. And I was always taught that when you invest emotionally, you lose. So I understand that, we're trying to build a community and we're trying to, keep our assets in the hands of someone that looks like us, but when we tend to apply that to everything in business, things begin to get cloudy. Because then you're saying, instead of, let's say I'm willing to sell my house for let's say $500,000 to someone that doesn't look like me. That's like saying I would sell to someone for $400,000 just because they look like me. So I'm taking $100,000 cut, just so I can provide someone that looks like me my asset.
I get it.
You know, I just don't see the real. I see the gain when it comes to keeping it in the family, but I wouldn't want to lose in the process because I'm so early in my financial journey. You know, us as a community, we're very early in our progression to real wealth. Why should we take a cut like that just to keep it keep it in the family essentially? That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
And I understand the whole selling out thing. Yeah, I like the whole don't be a sellout. Keep it in the family in the race. But I'm not saying everything has to be black. I'm saying that we need to maybe try our best to make we have to be intentional with things. And I definitely understand what you're saying. Like, just because somebody's black doesn't mean I'm gonna sell my business to them and lose money. Right. So what I'm saying is, how do we accumulate wealth as a community? If I sell something for $1 million to $10 million to a big corporation, that's going to turn into $100 million instead of keeping it. And there's margins, right? And I understand there's money that's going to be lost, there's money that's going to be made. But sometimes I think that we have to do our due diligence of looking for those people that can give us the price that, like, let's say we're selling something, the price that we're selling for, and also making sure that they meet certain criteria, because in the real world, that's what we have to deal with, right? Like if I was to go buy a condo or like a house in a certain area, depending on which area it is, I might have to. They don't care how much money I have, and I'm not saying that we have to do the same thing, but I'm saying like, yo, if you're buying hair products, can you make sure that the people that, can you support our sisters? Can you, we're not going to have everything because we don't make up the whole population, but we have to be a little more intentional with our transactions, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That's
true. I can agree with that.
Sure. So check this out, gentlemen. Guidant Financial, right, in regards to, Guidant Financial and Lending Club teamed up to survey more than 2,700 current and aspiring small business owners nationwide, right? So here are some insights about the African American entrepreneurs, including current trends, challenges, and motivations to help you all continue forward this topic. So 62% of these entrepreneurs identify as male. All right, 38% identify as female. All right, so and here are some top challenges for these African American black men and women small business owners. 38% say that some of their challenges is lack of capital flow. 16% say it's marketing. 14% say it's time management. 11% say it's recruiting and getting potential employees to come work for them and buy into the business, and as well as retention. At 11% is administrative work, right? And 5% is management, providing benefits, and 5% is other. And so when we look at the happiness level within this chart on Guidant Financial, it says that about 43% say that their happiness level is a 10, while the number continues to go down from there, from 14, 13%, 11%, 6%, so on and so on. What do you both think about those numbers? I'll start off with you, Mark, first, and then Gene, I'll have you follow up.
You're saying mainly just the issues that these black entrepreneurs are facing?
Yeah, like what do you think about some of those numbers in terms of the challenges that these small business owners, these African American owners are having in regards to running their business, sustaining their capital, increase their marketing, having time management, and as well as managing, as well as administering roles and retention and recruiting in regards to their businesses? Why do you think this is the case? Is it politics or?
Yeah, it just becomes a lack of resources, and when you have a lack of resources, that really just makes everything a challenge, obviously. When you see someone that's struggling as a business owner, just trying to keep it all together, would you want to work for them? I'd rather work for the other guy with all the benefits and stuff. I don't want to work for this guy who's barely making it.
That's a fact.
So it's just people are judging them prematurely, and they're rightfully so. It's just a lack of resources will always just be a dreadful experience for an entrepreneur. And like we said, we're at the ground floor. So for someone that's trying to build a legacy for his family, his race, it's gonna be an uphill battle. It's never gonna be easy because it's just like you're screwed from the start. You know what I mean? So you just have to make do with what you have and just keep pushing forward because you're really just trying to piece everything together with the little things that you have, man. So I can't blame them. I can't blame, those numbers seem perfect.
Yep. I think we can attribute that to so I went to school in a place. I went to school in New York City, and when I was working on my bachelor's in I did actuarial science and a bunch of math and finance.
Where'd you go?
When I was Baruch College.
Okay.
So there was a lot of Asian. The Asian community is definitely like out there, and I've gotten the chance to like really like understand how they move and how they make things happen. I think for us, Black people, the issue that we have is we don't really work together, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at all the big corporations, right? If you look at, let me just go with Facebook, right? Facebook it was started like Mark Zuckerberg is at the face of it, but he's not the only one, right? If you look at Alphabet, which owns YouTube and Google, it wasn't started by one person. Like one person had the idea, but they were like, yo, listen, come work for me, and this is what we're going to do. We may not have a lot of money for you, but we're going to give you a certain number of shares in the company. Like a lot of startups, like the tech startup companies, that's what they do, right? Like just to make sure that they attract the talent. I think for us is we have this complex of making it like self-made, right? I know it's an American idea, but when it comes to business, it's not really smart.
Absolutely.
Right? If you think about Steve Jobs wasn't a tech savvy guy. He knew about tech. He had a vision, but you still need people to execute your vision. So what do? You go and you get people to come on board, and you give them a piece of the pie. And once you do that, everybody can oversee a certain like people can oversee a certain department, right? Like for example, real estate investment. Real estate investment, all right, I'm a company, I want to buy a building. I don't have money to buy a building. What do? I go online, I create this, I file for paperwork or whatever I have to do, and then I collect money from a bunch of people who essentially own a piece of my property. That's how the stock market works. So for us to just take on, I'm going to start a restaurant, but I'm going to do it by myself because I have the money or I was able to get the funds, that's not smart.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because you don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get stuck. And
Mm-hmm.
you need to, that's the part where I can't wait to start seeing businesses, like a business that has 4 owners. Because that's how the real world works. You're not going to run that whole company by yourself.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
That's what I used to think.
That's not going to happen.
Absolutely.
I feel like,
mm-hmm.
Us as Black people, we tend to have the short-term mindset. We don't want to wait and see. We don't want to wait and see what happens to the company. We want to get paid now. We don't want any stock options. Leave that alone. I want a raise. I want this. I want that right now. People aren't willing to say, let's wait 10 years out and see what this stock turns into. So it's very hard to get a team of Black people that are willing to wait and see the company through because they want that income now. Their finances are in shambles, and they want everything right now. They don't want to wait. It's much easier to get, other ethnicities, other races to buy into a dream and actually wait and work hard and see it through. So I think it comes down to us just wanting everything now and not being patient, because even with investing, like, I talk to people all the time, when it comes to, the things that I invest in, and let's say they invest in it as well, 2 months later, they're like, hey, what's going on, man? It's not going up. It's just like, you have to be patient. This is an investment. This isn't a lottery ticket. This is not this isn't an instant riches. You have to actually wait and see it through. But our people don't have the patience because, when you have nothing, you're trying to suck anything you can get out of life. So we need a lot of patience instilled in our community when it comes to investing our time, our energy, and our money. So until we get that, we're always going to chase the quick fix, like a quick raise or a quick promotion, instead of actually waiting to join a small startup company and see what happens. So I think that's one of the biggest issues too. Yeah.
So gentlemen, just a few more points here, and then we'll be wrapping up the show very, very soon. But something I wanted to point out for the ladies out there, for the wise gals within our wise community. From 1997, this is still from Guidant Financial here. From 1997 to 2015, the number of businesses owned by African American women grew an amazing whopping 322%, making them the largest growing group of entrepreneurs at that time. You there? Despite the challenges they face, it's clear that African American small business owners are becoming more and more populous and using the entrepreneurial journey to empower their community. I want to focus on women for a second. African American women grew an amazing, their businesses grew an amazing 322%. And it was the largest growing group of entrepreneurs at that time range, again from 1997 to 2015. In your practices or within your research and as well as what you do, both of you as businessmen, do you see this? Can you believe this number? It seems to me to be a bit staggering. Not saying women aren't capable of this, but I think it's it's truly amazing and remarkable to see that African American businesses owned by women grew an amazing 322% from 1997 to 2015. If that is the case, why do you guys think that is?
I think one thing is that they don't. So if you think about how women just organize and do things, they don't do things by themselves. And if they do it by themselves, they do something that they're really good at, right? It's really seldom that you see a woman just jump in a business, at least from my experience, jump in a business that she has no idea in, right? They're really passionate about what they do. That's one. The second thing is they also got to a point where the way black women look in this country, what they do is so marketable. They realize, I think black women they realize, listen, I need to start making my own, I'm gonna make my own, lotion, or I'm gonna make my own product, or I'm gonna make my own X, Y, and Z. And because women talk and women will, if a woman, I feel like women drive, when it comes to marketing, they run everything. If something is good, they will be championing it and telling you, this is good, this is what you need, right? And then they don't jump into the idea, when you think about startup tech, or startup businesses or small businesses, a lot of guys, we want to do things that require $1 million to start or $10 million to start, right? We have these big ideas. Women are listen, I just want to have a store and this is where I'm going to start, or maybe I'm going to start it from my house. I'm going to cook in my house and prep meals and send it out there and see how it works. So they have an actual realistic approach on how to start a business. Meanwhile, for us, it's more about let me think about the number, how much money I can make, and how quick I can get there. They take time. I've seen women in New York that were cooking from their homes to own a business now. I've seen friends that used to work in supermarkets that now have little stores, right? So they stayed in the field that they were really, really comfortable in. But what they did is they started small. So when you start really small, you have a chance to adjust, right? When you start big, things have to work, because if they don't work, you got to close. But they find a way to go to work, and maybe on the weekend, I'm going to braid this girl hair and do this. And then little by little, transition. We met, my fiance and I met this girl who used to work, full-time job and everything. And she left it because she makes jam. She makes jam, from her house or whatever. She was making it, and we found her in the farmer's market. And now she left her job. That's what she's doing.
Wow.
But for a guy, I'm not, you see what I'm saying? I'm not thinking, oh, let me just start flipping sneakers one at a time and save the money and do this. I'm thinking, how can I open a store today? You see what I'm saying? Which requires more capital, and I'm not going to get that money, so the store will never see the day or the light of the day.
Wow, yeah. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, I can totally agree with that, man. That's for sure. When it comes to women, they like you said, they stick to what they know. They're not watching TV stick to what they're good at. And guys, we tend to have that ego. We think we can do anything, and we tend to get, hop onto ideas very quickly. We'll see something, looks like it can work, we assume we can automatically do it instead of sticking to our natural skills and abilities. We're always trying to jump into something totally foreign. So it's that ego that us men have that the women tend to not have, and they tend to be more realistic, like you said, and they tend to think things through, because like you said, they'll start small with the business, it's the same example as yours, and then for us, we'd be like, okay, let's open a store tomorrow, let's get this going, and then we blow all of our cash so quickly. So it's like you said, man, they really do have a very level-headed approach to business, and that's why there's a growing number of CEOs that are women and stuff like that as well, because people are realizing that level-headed approach, when it comes to being the head of a business, is the best mindset to have. We leave the ego out, just a really realistic, level-headed approach. It's stable growth, not a 20x tomorrow. So yeah, I can totally agree with everything you said, for sure.
So one more question, well, technically two questions, but this first question is attached with the story. I was in the grocery store the other day, and I was at the checkout line at Stop and Shop, and I was gathering my groceries, and there was this Hispanic family behind me, and they were leaving, they were also bagging, doing the self-checkout, bagging their groceries too. And I think the aunt, the boy's aunt, told her sister, right, the boy's mom, like, oh wow, he's such a natural at this, mama. You should let him bag groceries when he gets older, whatever, whatnot. And when I heard that, I was like, huh? I was like, what the hell? And the reason why I say that is because it made me have an immediate flashback to when I was a child and I was at the grocery store with my mom. I was at the supermarket, and then I told my mom I wanted to go bag groceries. When I tell you, she told my dad so quick that I wanted to go bag groceries, my dad popped the hell out of me, and he was like, why do you want to go bag groceries for? That's for low class people. That's for poor people. You should not be doing that. You should not, and basically, I'm not saying this to demean people who do it, because some people, especially if they're immigrants, they that's all they have, that's the only job or the only form of income that they have, and they need to do that. But my father didn't want me to get that in my head and embed that within my brain, so that way I could, fantasize, or maybe fantasize is not the great word, so that I could aspire to it, and I'd just be comfortable in that and become that. Now, the reason why I'm asking you gentlemen both this is because, was she wrong for saying that? Because I felt offended when she said that, because it rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm like, here's a boy who was probably, Puerto Rican or Dominican, but born in America. Should it be right for her to have that mindset, to project that upon her nephew, and then tell her sister that? What do you guys think?
That's a tough one. So just if I understand it correctly, so she alluded to the kid being good at bagging groceries, and that's what he should be doing?
Yes, and mind you, the boy probably was only like 5, 6, 7 years old.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think that it's really tough, right? You don't want to tell people how to raise their kids or what to say or whatnot.
Right.
But I think that we don't do enough of, like, there's a lot of our friends that go through life and never really experience, like jobs before you really get a real job, right? And when you get there, your 4.0 in college is not going to help you. So maybe she shouldn't say it directly like that, oh, you're so good at this. But that's something that he can be doing in the summertime, just to understand the value of work. And that's something that even in the black community, I don't know if that's something that people appreciate. The value of work itself, like being able to have, like, wake up in the morning and say, okay, this is what I do for a living. If you are able to understand that at the age of 7, and I'm not saying I don't know if it's child labor or what it is, but I'm thinking for myself. I started working at age 17. So my brother started working at age 16, right? And he's 22, and his resume is more packed than a lot of 35 years old that I know.
Right.
So sometimes there's certain values that you're not going to learn just because you go to school. So you have to be in a place where you actually experience that. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but you have to make the kids understand that you're only doing this for now so you can learn about what's coming ahead. It shouldn't be the final destination.
Mark.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because for me, I mean, I wouldn't mind my son learning the value of hard work, you know, getting in there, bagging his groceries, and humble him a little bit, because that's what a lot of kids need as well. They need to get, you know, they need to be a lot more humble. So I feel like putting him in a situation where he has to work hard, he'll learn valuable customer service skills, you know, but we're talking at a young age, you know, maybe 14, 15. Like you said, it may be child labor ramifications, but, you know, anything that would teach him customer service, which is a valuable skill, how to interact with people, because, you know, with the way the kids are so sucked into social media these days, it would be a good experience for him to be in the public and speaking with people. But that being said, I wouldn't want my son, you know, bagging groceries. I would want to put him into something more meaningful where he can learn more skills, because
Exactly.
you know, there's not many skills you can learn from putting some corn into a bag. But it's just, yeah, like you said, just putting him out there into the field and making him earn a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is valuable, but it depends on your resources, because if you own a business yourself, you pluck your son into your business. You wouldn't put him into a grocery store.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
And my final question for you all before we head to our final segment, our closeout segment, Word to the West. My final question to you both, Gene. No, matter of fact, Mark, I'm going to start with you first, and then Gene, I'll let you have the last word. What do you both think about incubators? I'll say it again. What do you both think about incubators, or if not incubators, I guess I'm more so talking about startup labs or labs with apprentices where young aspiring entrepreneurs between the ages of 13, 14 to 19, or even older younger entrepreneurs, right, between the ages of 20 to 25. What do you think about incubators or programs that promise to provide funding and to help young aspiring minds take their businesses off the ground by having them pitch within incubation programs, and as well as provide them with some form of resource or materials needed in order to get their in order to get their business developed and launched? So what do you think about those? I'm curious as to what you all, like, you know, we all see Shark Tank and watch that every week and see you know, these programs that you know, give these aspiring entrepreneurs the wide eyes, right? The wide eyes to start their business, launch them, and hopefully see them to success, and also sign over a certain stake within the company. What do you think about these incubators or these tech startup programs? Mark, you first.
Yeah, incubators are very valuable for the right business. You know, businesses that require, you know, strenuous resources like a large amount of capital, or the right connections to get distribution for certain products, to get certain talent for these products. Because, I mean, incubators really work best for tech startups, because they have everything you need in place right there to get it up and going. Like you said, it's an incubator. It's going to groom you. It's going to grow you. And when you're creating a tech startup, you need a large team. You need a powerful team. You can't just get this team in college or you know, at a networking event. You need solid individuals with experience in these industries. You don't need any newbies. You know, in certain industries, you can't just start up with a bunch of you know, people just entering the industry. You're going to need some really powerful figures, especially for a business that is, you know, right on the edge of blossoming. You know, there's certain things you need when you're, you know, growing this business to actually make this thing go mainstream and get the technology out there. And I think incubators do a perfect job at that, because it's everything you need under one roof. They're going to groom you to be an entrepreneur. They're going to groom, you know, your team. They're going to get the right people around you, and that's not something you can find anywhere. I mean, they're very picky with who they let in anyway, so they're going to make sure the right person gets selected for that incubator. But it's a great resource. The only thing is, an incubator usually takes equity from the business. So I'm guessing, you have to be very careful with how much equity you give. Granted, I mean, I'd rather want 20% of 100 million than 100% of 1 million. So it's just tricky. I mean, you know, you just want to make sure you're giving away the right amount of equity. You don't want to give away the house, because if you're offering the house, they'll definitely take the house. But yeah, definitely, man. I think it's a wonderful tool for sure for tech startups specifically. Not if you're just, I want to open up a restaurant, let me go to incubator. You don't need an incubator. But definitely for a tech startup for sure. It's a wonderful tool.
Gene?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great. I think the thing with those places, like incubators and like even investors, you have to have a proven record. You can't just show up. You can't just show up with ideas and be like, okay, this works. I think there's actually this guy, European guy that used to do that actually. Like you pitch him a business idea, and then he would buy it for you for like super cheap. And then like just the idea of it, right? And then he would take it and he would go and make it happen. The only thing with that, like you mentioned, is how are you going to be able to negotiate? And the problem is a lot of the companies that are big now, they could have been sold for like nothing, like literally like pennies. Like Facebook could have been sold for literally nothing, right? LeBron James was offered $10 million straight from like his first year of college or even high school. High school, $10 million just to have a shoe deal.
Yeah, for Adidas, I think. I think it was Adidas.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And he said no. So sometimes I think we have to, like if you're able to get to an incubator and they say yes, that means you got something really good, right? And if you're someone who believes like you have a good team, you have somebody that's business savvy that can negotiate those deals for you, that's something to go with. But if you have a great idea and you necessarily don't have all the tools to get, that idea started, you're gonna have to lose something. So it's a great asset. It's a great opportunity to have that. But at the same time, it's not free, right? And if somebody's giving you the money to run a business, that business is no longer yours fully. You don't control all the ideas.
Right.
All those things that you could have done, before, you cannot do that anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that, because even if you start your own company, at some point, if you become big, you're going to have a board of directors, you have a bunch of things happening, and you can just do things just because you own it. That's not how the real, like, big business works. But at the same time, I think for us, I want for black people, like, for example, like, I was talking to Kevin about, like, the furniture business, right? You spoke about that at Jimmy's wedding, right? Like, I would love for somebody to say, you know what? Let me go half and half with you, right? I'll give you, let's say it's $20,000 to get it off the ground. I'll give you 10, you put 10, right? You work on it, right? And then after a while, you pay my money back, and then you're out of it. You see what I'm saying? Like that, to me, that's the better idea, because then you're empowering somebody to become, like, to work hard. You're giving them some type of resources. You're matching them halfway or wherever you want to match them. But that gives you, like, it tells you how serious the person is, right? It's not a big loan. So even if it doesn't work, that person can repay you, right? Like if I had $20,000 and you gave me $10,000, even if I'm struggling, that's something that's more, it's feasible. I can pay you that $10,000 just in case the business doesn't go well. And then you work with them. And there's places like that. There's places like that in New York where they actually front you the money. They give you everything. Let's say you want to open a restaurant. They give you the money for the restaurant. They give you the money for everything. You start running it. You start doing your thing. And then you pay them with, like, of course, you got to pay them interest after a while. And then once you pay them, the business is yours. I just don't like the idea of you're going to own, like now you're taking, like, I mean, you're giving me a lot, but at the same time, it's like I'd rather partner with a person than partner with corporation, because there's always something.
Right.
There's always a catch, and if you don't read those documents the right way, if you're somebody that doesn't pay attention to detail, they will, that can go left.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, gentlemen, we've reached our final segment of the day, and it's usually our shortest. It's called Word to the Wise. Mark, obviously, being my co-host, is well familiar with it. But Gene, again, we're going to ask that you provide one word to the wise, and then you expound upon that word as a form of advice to our listenership. So, Mark, if you don't mind, if you could please go first, I'll go second, and then I'll have Gene have the final word to the segment. So, Mark, what is your word to the wise for today?
I would say my word to the wise is just plan. Just if you have to plan effectively. If you want to enter the business world, if you want to be an entrepreneur, make sure you fully thought it out. You have a plan, that you really have a realistic goal in mind. You know, like I understand they say follow your dreams, but enough dreaming. Actually have something realistic that you can build, something that you can put on paper and actually, you know, put money towards. Mm-hmm. Just more of, you know, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Just plan.
For sure. My word to the wise for today is research. So, for example, you're not always going to be business savvy in terms of, let me not say business savvy. You're not always going to be business and financially, economically sound in terms of, not just running a business in terms of the admin part of it, but as well as knowing percentages and breakdowns numerically when it comes to money. So my word to the wise, especially coming from the backgrounds of an educator, but someone who also aspires to continue to build his business and have his business thrive, right, is research. Before, you go into a certain sector or field, whatever it is that you're interested in, be sure to research. Be sure to research with what you have, those around you. Have people around you point you in the right direction in regards to research. Make sure that they're credible or they're a source that you can rely on and that knows a little bit about the field that you're going to get into in order to have that research pay dividends and pay tenfold. But yeah, research is a big component. And if I could sneak another one in there, if possible, if you all allow me to, I would also say network. I'm sure we've used the word network as one of our word to the wise before, and if we haven't, network is critical. You need to be able, like Mark said, make sure that you're networking and you're rubbing shoulders with the right people in order to find the information needed to get to where you want to get to. I think Gene might have mentioned it earlier, right? In regards to Jay-Z, people want to support people that they know, right? So, for example, you take Jay-Z, for instance, he didn't just get there on his own without, by just being who he was. I remember I was talking to Danielle earlier today, and she said, well, how do you think he got here? I'm like, because, he worked hard. She's like, yeah, but on top of working hard, it's the people that he surrounded himself with, or he placed himself within the same, elk with, he rubbed shoulders with them that allowed him to be able to make the business moves that he has made and that has allowed him to become a success. There's no secrets to success other than making sure that you network and you provide yourselves the opportunity to be placed in the right rooms with certain people. And I agree with that. He didn't get where he is now by rubbing shoulders with Dame Dash and all the people that were surrounding him in those Rockefeller days. Nah, Jay made it because, he was talking to the Leo Cohens of the world, the Rick Rubins, even just all of the big head, execs of the music industry, and the power players in other industries as well, Jimmy Iovine, when you think about Dr. Dre, and that's how these people made it. They made sure that they put themselves in the right position and predicament to have stakes in company to make a certain amount of money. And I also want to add this in. I know I'm rambling a bit, but Mark, we talked about it over text a few days ago. Take Magic Johnson, for instance, right? Magic Johnson, the reason why he is as big as he is now is because he went to Dr. Jerry Buss early and was like, hey, I want to invest. I want to be a businessman. And Dr. Dr. Jerry Buss was like, you sure about this? He's like, yes. He's like, you're only 19 though. He said, I know I'm 19, but I want to be in business. And his teammates couldn't understand why he was wasting his time, or thought he was wasting his time hanging around with Jerry Buss and going to all of these high profile events and, doing all these things while all they were thinking about was basketball. But at the end, who won in the long run? Was it Magic Johnson, or was it, his teammates that used to play basketball that we no longer hear about because they're no longer on the court? Did Magic Johnson win in the end? And no disrespect to him, but did Byron Russell win in the end? When you think about it, if you take the two and you compare and contrast, So research and network. Gene?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. My word would be partnership. And the reason for that, I think that there's no one and it's kind of similar to what you said, Kevin. There's not one person runs a whole company or a whole organization, and it's important for us when we have those ideas and we are trying to start a business to surround ourselves, to bring partners in. And by partners, I mean people that will be equal or at least owners of the idea that you had, and add on to that, and then allow your idea to become true, and also alleviate you from the risk factor of a business, especially if it's your first time doing business, right? You need people that will do the research. Not everybody's good at research. I'm not a research guy. I'm the guy that I'm hands-on. Like, getting the people, I interview people. That's what I would do, right? So I need somebody like Kevin to do the research, and then I need somebody to handle the business and the finances. So I think if we had that idea, we can actually think about, like, okay, let's say we have a room, like a community, for example. I want to open, let's say, a coffee shop, right? I know I have, let's say, 20,000, and everything is 100,000. Let's say I meet somebody else, right? I meet Kevin, and Kevin is like, well, I'm not really interested in anything. I just want to invest my money somewhere, right? I have free time, and I want to invest my money somewhere. Okay, well, can you contribute some type of, money towards starting this business? And I'll pitch to you as opposed to pitching to the bank or pitching to an investor, right? And then together we can form a corporation and then start working together and then see this see the birth of that business, right? And I believe in that model because it's proven to be. I mean, think about the stock market, right? That's really what it is. You want to do something with your company, so what do you start doing? You start giving a piece of your company to a bunch of people. Now, the people that own a bunch of those, stocks, they have some type of say into what's happening because now you're playing with their money. But you also own the company so that when you make a decision, it's an effort by many as opposed to be the labor of just one person. So I believe in that model more than anything.
Excellent. Well, Gene, Mark, and we appreciate you for coming on the show today, man. I think the Wise community out there got a lot of gems. Don't you think, Mark?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. This is amazing.
Oh, no, for sure, man. No, we appreciate you. Seriously, like, honestly, you taking the time out of your life to, contribute to the audience and also share your thoughts and your perspective. We appreciate you, man. That's what makes you a wise guy for sure. So, Gene, if you don't mind us asking you, Mark, long story short, Gene doesn't have social media. We had this conversation. We won't get into it during Jimmy. Yeah, we had this conversation during Jimmy's wedding. There's reasons as to why he doesn't have it, but we're not going to get into it. But you're my guy, man. I really love you, man. But Gene, we usually ask our guests to get some love thrown at them, to get some love or some support in the forms of a question or a comment or a concern based off of what you said today, whether they agreed with you or they disagreed with you or not. Is there an email or any way in which our listenership can reach out to you to provide you with a comment or a thank you or maybe a question, or maybe they might want to debate you or disagree with you? How can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can reach me through my email. That's probably the best way. So it's JNYAO9456
Could you?
JNYAO9456 and hopefully soon I have some type of maybe I think about the whole Instagram thing, but for now that's the best place to reach me. I'll respond to email pretty fast. So.
Well said. No, I think that's beautiful, though. Honestly, I think that's perfect. Regardless, I think that shows tact, class, and everything. So perfect. Excellent. Mark, is there any last thing you want to add or say to Gene before we let him go? We appreciate his time today.
Oh no, man! Everything was great, man. I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I think this is so. I wish I was on the episode with Jimmy, man. That's my guy.
Well, you know what? We do plan on bringing Jimmy back later down the line, if not this season, next season or whatnot. So I'll make sure I reunite the boys back together, so that way we could really chop it up and talk about some stuff. Thanks for that idea.
Sure,
so
anytime.
No, for sure. So no, thanks for saying that, because Jimmy was really excited that I was going to interview you. So yeah, let's do that next time. Let's definitely get you and Jimmy on the line next time, and we'll work things out and we'll break into some topics. Excellent. So Wise community, that's our show for today. If you aren't currently following us online, please be sure to follow us at Wise Guys NYC. At Wise Guys NYC. Also, for those of you out there, by the time this episode airs, my Instagram handle will have changed. All right. Again, my Instagram handle will have changed. You know, I'm disbanding this Kevalev thing, so it'll just be my name, Kevin Unglad 11. Again, it'll be on Instagram and Twitter at Kevin Unglad 11. So that's Kevin Unglad, ANGLADE, and the numbers 11. So again, by the time this episode airs, more than likely my Instagram handle will have changed. So it will no longer be Kevalev or Velebek backwards. It'll be Kevin Unglad 11. And also, we haven't said it in a while, but Mark, can you please be sure to tell the people as well where they could find you on Instagram?
Yeah, definitely. You guys can find me on Instagram, prudent_thoughts. That's PRUDENT_thoughts. And you can definitely reach out to me on there, and I'm pretty active with answering my messages, so that'll be the best place.
Excellent. And ladies and gents out there, the Wise community, please be sure, Wise Guys and Wise Gals, to listen to the podcast. It is streaming and available right now on all streaming platforms. Apple Podcasts, all right, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, all right, and more than likely we will have a YouTube up when this episode airs if it hasn't. And also I'm working on the Twitter page. I'm hoping by next episode to make that announcement. Just stay patient, all right. But yes, that is where you can find us, and as well as our host, the Anchor app, all right. Shout out to the Anchor app, as well, Anchor FM. And again, we'd like to thank Gene for coming on one more time, and shout out to Jimmy as well, Jimmy Frederick. If it wasn't for Jimmy, I would have never met, somebody as remarkable and as dashing and as intelligent and as good looking as Gene Yao. All right. So for sure. So again, Gene, we thank you so much, and we definitely appreciate the way you added.
I appreciate it. Anytime.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate the way you added value to the show, and we will definitely have you back on at some point with Jimmy sometime down the line. So again, ladies and gents, that's our show for today. Now you're welcome, man. That's our show for today. All right, we're closing out. We'll see you for next week's episode. All right, next week's episode is going to focus on the public school system once again, and we're actually bringing on a businessman in the form of a musician coming onto the show. All right, that episode is going to be called Too Cool for School, but we'll get into that at another time. So once again, I said it at the beginning of the podcast. This is your boy Kevin Unglad,
and this is Mark Prudent.
And we are joined by our very, very, very special guest,
Gene Yao.
And you are now tuned into the Wise Guys podcast. All right, ladies and gents, Wise Guys, Wise Gals, we'll see you all next week.
Stay wise.
And coming onto the show, all right? That episode is going to be called Too Cool for School, but we'll get into that at another time. So once again, I said it at the beginning of the podcast, this is your boy, Kevin Unglad.
And this is Mark Prudent.
And we are joined by our very, very, very special guest,
Gene Yao.
And you are now tuned into the Wise Guys podcast. All right, ladies and gents, Wise Guys, Wise Gals, we'll see you all next week.
Stay wise.